What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on the Colts YouTube page. We are brought to you by our friends at Sony. I'm JJ Stankevitz, joined again by Bill Brooks to break down the Colts' latest game. Bill, the Colts 45-33 losers to the New York Giants, the 3-13 New York Giants at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. The Colts are eliminated from the playoffs. Their season is effectively over with 1 week left to go. A stunning loss, Bill. I think one that is up there for me in terms of gut punches that you didn't see coming. For me, it's right up there with 2021, the loss to the Jaguars. I think these are
Yeah.
in the same stratosphere. And that is the last thing I was expecting to be talking about coming into a game against a Giants team that I had friends who were Giants fans, family members who were Giants fans who were texting me being like, I hope the Giants lose so they get the number one overall pick. And
Yeah.
instead, the New York Giants put up 45 points. They beat the Colts. And just, Bill, after the game, some of the adjectives that were used in the Colts locker room by players were embarrassing, unacceptable. That is where the Colts' minds went after this game. And I don't think there's any other way to describe it, Bill. When you lose a game like this with these stakes, a game you should have won, a game you should have taken care of the Giants, and you didn't. And here we are. You're eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. When you have a game like this, knowing the stakes in regards to the outcome of the game is going to determine a lot of how your goals go, or the goals you set for yourself as far as reaching the playoffs and knowing that, you know what, you need to go out there and play your game. Yes, you needed some help from some other teams, but you need to take care of your own business. And unfortunately, the Colts could not take care of their business. And for me, and as I'm sure a lot of fans, it's frustrating, very frustrating to see what happened today against the Giants and the way the Colts played. It just could not get anything going. And to me, after the Colts got the 3-0 lead, and then the Giants came back, and then from that point on, once the Giants got the lead, they just never relinquished the lead, and they kept on playing. And the thing I thought the Colts might do is try to jump on them early, get on this team early, so
Hmm.
maybe they have some quit in them. I mean, they probably wouldn't quit, but you know what I mean. They don't want to give that extra effort that they need to play hard and to win the football game. And then by the time you get into the third quarter, late in the third quarter, begin the fourth quarter, the game would be over. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. The Colts didn't play well. They made some mistakes out there, and the Giants took advantage of it. They just kept on playing and playing and playing, and they had the confidence to go out there to think that they could beat the Colts, and they did. They went out there and played well. And as you said, JJ, for the players, it was embarrassing and it's frustrating for fans to see the results that happened today.
I think we don't want to lose sight that the Giants do have some good players. Malik Neighbors is an
Yes.
awesome football player. Wan'Dale Robinson's a good player. Um, but for Drew Lock to do what he did to the Colts today, and it's not a lot of it was after the catch. A lot of it was Malik Neighbors making plays. But Bill, I want to read you the five highest passer ratings in the NFL this year with a minimum of 20 attempts. Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold, and then in fifth, Drew Lock at 155.3 against the Colts today. You're talking about Lamar Jackson, an MVP candidate. Jared Goff and Sam Darnold are walking into the playoffs with two of the best records in the NFL. Kyler Murray's had a really nice rebound season. And then you have your journeyman in Drew Lock putting up a one of the best quarterback stat lines of the season, which also doesn't include his touchdown rush as well. That right there, he was comfortable all game. He really wasn't under a lot of pressure. And he was able to get the ball to his receivers who went and made plays. And Bill, the biggest issue once the ball got in those receivers' hands was that the Colts missed a ton of tackles in this game. It
Fine.
was the Colts had opportunities to bring Malik Neighbors to the ground. They had opportunities to bring Wan'Dale Robinson and Tyrone Tracy to the ground, and they were unable to do it. And that's something that a lot of players talked about after the game too, Bill. What their perspective was on it, but all of that combined, Bill, just led to a really, again, I come back to stunning. It's stunning that the Colts let
Yeah.
Locke do this to them, that they let this happen to them with the stakes that this game held.
Yeah, Drew Lock, 70 of 23, 74% completion percentage, threw for four touchdowns, ran for one. Um, the man played well, give him credit, but a lot of it, as you said, hit the receivers and short to medium range, and took it after the catch and had a lot of yards after the catch and ran it in. And I know one play where it threw kind of like a hitch to Malik Neighbors. And for me, the one team I played for, the Buffalo Bills, we called that play 40. And basically, the quarterback would half roll to the right, the wide receiver run a hitch.
Hmm.
And the quarterback just puts it on him, and it's basically the play is just to gain 5 or 6 yards, and so to keep the drive going or get you in good position where you can get a first down on second or third down. But Malik Neighbors broke the tackles, missed tackles, whatever you want to call it, with Kenny Moore and Womack there, and he just took it into the house. I mean, those are the things that that added to Locke's stats, and unfortunately for the Colts, it went against them. But you got to make those tackles. You got to tackle a guy like that, knowing how good Malik Neighbors is, what he can do out there in the football field, and the Colts just could not do it. And give Drew Lock credit. I mean, he played well today. He played probably his best game in his career.
I would think so. Yeah.
I would think I'm thinking so as well. So it's unfortunate, but a lot of it you can blame on the Colts because Colts missed some tackles and they need to tackle better today.
The Colts in this game, Bill, let me go pull this up because I was in the middle of finding it. I wanted to find the final total on missed tackles, but something that I thought was really interesting that Zaire Franklin said after the game was it's not just about the missed tackles. It's what happened after the missed tackles. And something he said is that if you look at some of the best defenses in the NFL, they'll miss a tackle, but then you'll have guys rallying to the ball and bringing down the guy who made the first guy miss. And it's not this explosive play. It's not a 30, 40-yard gain. It might be an additional 3 or 4 yards instead. And he said, we didn't have that. We need to play more as a team. His exact quote here is quote, when you play defense, it's not really a one versus one thing, it's really 11 versus one. I don't think we play with that type of mentality. I think too many times it's too many one-on-one tackles, and the reality of the situation is there's a lot of extremely talented guys in this league, and they're going to make the first guy miss. But when you watch a lot of great defenses, people swarm and everyone's trying to get in on the tackle. So obviously we all got to do better tackling, myself included. That's something I'm going to work on moving forward, but I think we could play better together as a defense. And you give up 45 points as a defense. I think the number one thing is, Bill, you probably weren't playing together as a unit.
I agree. I mean, and what Z's talking about is people rallying to the ball. I mean, if there's a guy out there and he makes one guy miss, as long as you get him to stop his feet, everyone, if there's continuing running from a defensive standpoint, you run to the ball. Everyone runs to the ball, and you have more than one guy out there trying to tackle him. You want to get 4 to 5 guys out there trying to tackle the individual. And if things work out, maybe you get one guy try to strip the ball, and the other guys recover the ball as well. But you want to play as a team, want to play as a unit, and for a defensive unit, they want to rally to the ball. You always want to run to the ball, and that's what you hear a lot of times. You hear about teams playing fast and teams playing from sideline to sideline. They're running to the ball, they're making tackles, and that's what you need. You need a team together playing as one, going out there and trying to make those tackles from a defensive standpoint. And as you heard, as Z has said, you know what? The Colts didn't play like that, and they got to do more of that if they want to be successful.
Yeah, I mean the one that really was the backbreaker, Bill, was in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. It's that pass to Neighbors, right? That we were kind of just talking about.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
you have Kenny and Womack right over there. There's a little bit of hesitation. Neither of them are able to bring him down. And then Neighbors just turns on the Jets. Julian Blackman gets blocked. Jalen Jones runs into him. Zaire Franklin can't catch up over there, and it's a 59-yard touchdown in a situation, Bill, where if the Colts had held the Giants, even just to a field goal on that drive, at that point of the game, it's 28-26 Giants. The Colts, the way they're moving the football, I think they would have gone down and probably scored another touchdown. But it's this culmination of things of just like one thing after another, after another, after another, that then leads to that play. And that right there, the Colts are able to get back in it with another offensive drive, but that right there just kind of felt like, okay, the Giants have now landed a haymaker, and the Colts are kind of really on the ropes here in a game where I don't think anyone expected them to be on the ropes at all. And here they were in the fourth quarter, down by 2 scores, needing a furious comeback in a game that, you were what? The Giants are 2-13 coming into the game. The Colts are
Yeah,
fighting for their playoff lives. That's just like hard to comprehend that it got to this point.
exactly. I mean, I mentioned it earlier about giving this team life, and that's what the coach did by letting them get ahead and stay ahead for the most part all game. I mean, like I said,
Hmm.
the Colts got 3-0, but then after that, the Giants stayed ahead most of the time, and it gave the Giants confidence. And so when the Colts did, get close the gap a little bit, the Giants felt confident that they can go down and score points, and they did. They did score some points, and and you also can talk about, as you mentioned, JJ, if they held them to 3 points. Well, that's playing complementary football. If the defense could have held them to 3 points, and then the offense was moving the ball down the field, and if the offense could have moved the ball down the field and score a touchdown, the game changes. The complexion of the game changes right there. So it's unfortunate that things didn't go as well as the Colts wanted, but a lot of it is because of what the Colts didn't do out there in the football field. And one of the things is tackle and bring the guys down and stop them from scoring.
Just there's so much we can talk about and so much we can get into with this game, Bill. It's like trying to collect my thoughts on it is a bit of a challenge. So let's take a quick break
Yes,
and then we'll come back with more chat about this game. This NFL season, feel every play, every hit, every moment with the Sony 1000 XM5 noise canceling headphones, the official headphones of the Indianapolis Colts. With premium noise cancellation, you're in the zone, no distractions, just pure football. Whether you're in your living room or on the go, you'll never miss a beat with Sony headphones. All right, Bill, something that, like early in the game, you're talking about New York kind of getting control of the game early. One of the most disappointing parts of that is, all right, that first neighbor's touchdown, that was on 3rd and 14. The second touchdown, the 32-yarder to Slayton, that was on 3rd and 8. And then a third and goal at the 5, that was the third Giants touchdown. So that got New York up 21-6 midway through the second quarter. And for a team that had nothing going for it this year, and I mean nothing,
nothing.
that right there, I was looking at the sideline. Brian Dable was in it. Just like and I want to get your perspective on this, Bill. When you're on a team that is bad, like the New York Giants have been bad this year, but all of a sudden you look up and you're up 21-6, and your head coach is going nuts. It probably doesn't matter that there are 20,000 people in the stands, that you've got 13 losses, that this year has been kind of this like slog from hell. You're probably like, this is great. We got some momentum. We're having fun out here. We're having fun with the guys. Like that feeling on the sideline has to be extremely exciting, especially for a team that just hasn't really done that a whole lot before. And that I think fuels some momentum, does it not?
Oh, definitely does because, as you said, it's exciting. I mean, they haven't experienced that being up 21-6. They only averaged this year 14 points per game, and that's last in the National Football League. So now you have 21 points at this juncture in the game, and you're having fun, you're excited. And the thing is that as a player, you want this to continue. You want to continue to score some more points. So you want this to just get bigger and better. And the Giants felt that way. They felt like, hey, you know what? We're moving the ball down the field. This is what it should feel like to play a game in the National Football League, to be successful, to achieve the things that we want to achieve, to go out there and be able to move the ball down the field. So they felt good about themselves and they didn't want it to stop. They wanted to continue to have that feeling, and they did by going out playing well and playing hard. And unfortunately, the coach couldn't stop them. And as a player, you want that feeling and you like, wow, this is what it should feel like. And maybe
Mhm.
hopefully the guys that come back for the Giants, they can say, hey, maybe we, can get this feeling next year, but we have to start early and play together. But you know what? The Giants, they did what they had to do. And, a lot of people want them to get the first round pick or the first pick in the draft. But the players don't feel that. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about going out there playing and giving their best and giving their all so they can win a football game. And the Giants did that today and give them credit for it.
So the other flip side of this in the first half, at least, Bill, is the Colts left a lot of points on the board in the first 30 minutes. You've got the Joe Flacco interception where he's immediately pressured. He kind of floats it up toward Mo like Cox. Great play by that safety
Great catch.
with the diving interception. But right there,
Mhm.
that was you're in kind of inside the 30 of the Giants there. That you're thinking you at least get 3 points out of that. So let's say you leave 3 points on the board there. Then you have these two red zone possessions that you have to settle for a 32-yard and a 29-yard field goal because Joe Flacco gets sacked on 3rd and 2 on one, and then you're not able to pick up the first down on the other. So you that's probably another 8 points. So you're looking at
Eight
11
points.
points, probably 11 points you've left on the board in the first half. And then on top of that, you get Matt Gay missing the 54-yard field goal. You're talking about probably 14 points that you leave on the board in the first half. And if you score those, you're winning 27 to 21 at halftime. And that's probably a completely different conversation in the Giants locker room, in the Colts locker room about what direction this game is going in.
Oh, definitely. And as far as the coaches, if you're up 27-21, or if you're up at halftime, you know what? It changes your play calling. It changes how you approach the game. It changes what personnel you have out there in the football field. And then it also goes to putting doubt in the Giants' mind. Like, hey, you know what? Here we go again. This is, we're losing again. You know what? We're probably going to end up losing this game. You know what? We're going to play hard, but you know what? If it gets later in the game and the Colts end up going up by, 10, 13, 14 points, we know it's going to be over in the fourth quarter. But that didn't happen.
Hmm.
And when that didn't happen, it gave the Giants some life and they wanted to continue to play well and wanted to continue to have that feeling. And they did it.
There were still some other points in the second half that got left out on the board. Obviously, the most notable one is the 2 point conversion, which was I love the play call. It's a play that
Mhm.
Detroit has run a bunch this year, where you get the lateral to the player coming around, and if Jonathan Taylor catches that ball, he's in for a touchdown or a 2 point try is good,
Yes.
and you're tied up at 28. So those are a couple of points there. You get 3rd and 1 that you get, Jonathan Taylor goes out of bounds. They say he did not get the first down there. Then the 4th and 1 try, he gets stopped going over the top. So that's a turnover on downs in Giants territory. Again, you're leaving points on the board there. I think that was at the 23-yard line where the Colts are trying to go down and score a touchdown there. You're not trying to kick a field goal. But
No.
right there, you're talking about another 9 points you probably left on the board in this game where I don't want to totally, place a bunch of blame on the offense, but in this game where your defense was struggling to make stops, there wasn't much margin for error for the Colts in this game. And they moved the ball really well, but there were just those couple of moments in there where the execution could have been better, and that could have maybe alleviated some of the pressure that was put on this team by the Giants offense.
Yeah, and a lot of times in games in the National Football League, there's usually a handful of plays that can change the complexion of a game. The thing is that as a player, you don't know which plays are going to be. They can be plays in the first quarter, it could be plays in the second quarter, third or fourth quarter, or a couple plays in each quarter that change the complexion of the game. So that's why it's important to execute each play, and that's why it's important to feel like every play is an important play out there that you have to be successful on because you don't know what's going to exactly happen. And that's what happened today to the Colts. There are a couple of plays that the Colts just missed. And by them just missing, it put them behind the eight ball and gave them momentum to the Giants, helped them out where the Colts missed some opportunities offensively to move the ball or continue a drive. And those things usually come back to bite you. And, You just don't know which plays are going to be those plays. That's why it's so important for each play. You play it like, you know what, this is the most important play out here that we're going through right now.
Now, no 45-33 loss to the New York Giants would be complete without every phase having something go catastrophically wrong. Amir Smith-Marset takes the opening kickoff of the second half, 100 yards for a touchdown. And this is another one of those moments, Bill, where like you probably just could feel on that Giants sideline a sense of belief. Because you go into halftime, Jonathan Taylor gets that touchdown with 20 seconds to go in the second quarter, cuts it to 8 points. You're like, okay, we're like, that was rough in the first half. Defense will come out strong in the second half. We have the offense to make this thing work. Oh my God, we're down by 15 points again. And for the Giants, like you get that return again, it just kind of feels like your day at that point. I have to imagine on the sideline, you're seeing a kickoff return for a touchdown. That in for a team that again doesn't have a whole lot going for it this year, just another one of those things that's like that is a massive momentum boost for them in this game that the Colts did struggle to come back from.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's 21-13. You figure, okay, defense, we're going to come out in the third quarter. They're going to get the ball. If we can stop them, we can hopefully turn this thing around, go down, score a touchdown. Okay, go for 2 points. Maybe it's 21-21, or if we go for this one extra point, kick the extra point, it's 21-20. But unfortunately, the defense will get a chance to get out in the field to get a stop, and the special teams allowed them to run a 100-yard kickoff return back for a touchdown. And that just changes the momentum, and for the Giants to get that big play to start the second half was huge for them to keep their momentum because then it changes things in regards to how the Colts approach their next offensive series and as well as the Giants defensive series. So it was a backbreaker to me in regards to them coming out and getting that 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And something that, you know what, the special teams definitely doesn't want to do that, and something that, unfortunately hurt the Colts and gave the Giants a lot of momentum.
So the other part of this, Bill, is that the Colts got the help they needed this weekend. That crazy Bengals Broncos game went exactly the way the Colts needed it to go, with the Broncos losing. Now, granted, it wasn't the path I think we would have anticipated, but I was watching that game on Saturday night in New York, and I'm like, okay, like here we go. Like the Colts got the help they needed today. Another under the radar thing that the Dolphins won that would have been helpful for next week, and the Colts are not able to capitalize on it. And that's something that we heard players say all week is that we can't accept the help unless we help ourselves. And, DeForest Buckner had a really good line on Thursday of last week where he said, look, if we win our last two games and we get in, that's great. If we win our last two games and we don't get in, then shame on us. We didn't do enough. And the Colts didn't even do enough in week 17 to make it matter. So that part of it too. And then you look at the Houston Texans collapsing, losing 31-2 on Christmas, and you're thinking, man, you flip like one of those games against Houston, and all of a sudden you're talking about this team hosting a playoff game. There's so many missed opportunities for this team this year. But I want to throw this one out there too. Zaire Franklin was very candid after the game. And he said, quote, you can't play like that when you're planning on being a playoff team, so we ain't a playoff team. So you can sit here, you can hem and haw like I just did all you want and say, oh, if you had this or you had that or whatever. But ultimately, like Zaire Franklin said, the Colts are not a playoff team this year. And that showed itself in this loss to the New York Giants.
And you don't have anyone to blame except yourself for the way the things have ended up here this season with the Indianapolis Colts not making the playoffs. You had ample opportunities to win some big games. You could have won the game against the Denver Broncos, didn't win that game. You know what? You needed some help after the Broncos game in regards to other teams losing and you taking care of your business. It set up last week or this past Saturday, I should say, where The Bengals won. So that's something what you needed in regards to helping you get to the playoffs. And then at least you could have, if you won today, you were going into the last week of the season, still having a shot to win. I should still having a shot to get into the playoffs if you won your game, a game against the Jaguars in Week 18. But not now, not even going to Week 18, you have an opportunity to even try to get into the playoffs. So you can't blame anyone except yourself. You didn't play well enough to beat the Giants to have that opportunity for Week 18. So it's unfortunate, but as Zaire says, you know what, they didn't do enough to get in the playoffs. So you know what, as Bill Parcells says, you are what your record says you are, and the record for the Colts right now is they're not getting into the playoffs in the 2024 season.
Yeah, the Colts will finish under 500 this season, no matter what happens next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bill, you and I will be back after that game for our season finale of Instant Reaction presented by Sony. Before we go, though, Bill, you know I travel a lot during the season, and I couldn't live without the Sony 1000 XM5 noise-canceling headphones. Whether I'm listening to music on the plane or trying to listen back to interviews I conduct in the postgame locker room, the premium noise cancellation these headphones provide keeps me in the zone whether I'm relaxing or working. And when I'm at home, Bill, these are great for just hearing you and keeping me locked in to our podcast. Take it from me, these are my favorite headphones I've ever owned. The Sony 1000 XM5 headphones are the official headphones of the Indianapolis Colts. All right, Bill, this has been therapeutic.
Yes.
Uh, it's not again not the podcast I was hoping to record with you tonight, but we'll have one more of these again next week after the Colts play the Jaguars, and then stick with us in the offseason. We'll have plenty of good stuff coming to you on the Colts Audio Network moving forward. For Bill Brooks, I'm JJ Stankevitz. Thank you for listening to this episode of Instant Reaction presented by Sony. Talk to you next week after the Colts play the Jaguars. So long.